folks, I need you to park. We're going to get going here. Yo, everybody. Time to sit down, guys. Let's go. We're going to get started. Hey, everybody! I need you all to sit down. Thank you. That worked better than the mic, huh? We're going to start the show here tonight with a little bit of fun, a little bit of good news. Maybe you haven't seen, maybe you have, the highlights for one of the best things that I saw this Olympics, and that is the hockey highlights. No audio? Can you guys quiet it down because the microphone doesn't work real well, and so
Where's Kevin?
I'm going to have to shout.
I'm going to have to switch. Okay, can you hear me now? Okay, thank you. So Chairman Sticken is stuck in traffic, but will be here shortly. I told her just drive safe. But she asked me to go ahead and start the meeting, so we're going to do that. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Christash. Good honor.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Okay. We're going to go ahead and get started, and when Lisa arrives, we will give her the floor. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Don Sharia with the Cuyahoga Valley Republicans. We are pleased and honored to co-host this event with the RPCC. Lisa asked me to help coordinate this evening's meeting, and I'm glad to do so. Thank you all again for making time to be here with us, and thank you to everyone watching via live stream, courtesy of our P State Central Committee man and CDR member, Joe Miller. Where's Joe? Thank you, Joe. Okay. Before we begin introducing the candidates who will be speaking with us this evening, I would like to recognize and just thank my fellow CDR Board of Trustees members, our Vice President, Kevin Bajarski, who's everywhere all the time, working hard, our Corporate Secretary, Sally Becker, who's not with us, working remotely, but along with my wife, Kathy, does a lot of the bookkeeping and record keeping and preparations for these meetings. So sign-in sheets, you see the membership records, that's all Sally's doing. Our recording secretary, Kim Barris, is home with a head cold, but she's watching. We have trustees, Mrs. Sue Coleman and Dr. Terry Shawn with us. Dr. Shawn, where's Sue? Where's Mrs. Coleman? I think she's still helping check people in. And then you all know our treasurer and the strong right arm of the CDR C-suite. I'd also like to thank my wife Kathy and all the members of the hospitality committee for helping set up this evening. A whole lot of people work real hard to make these events work. You all see Mark Budolowski, who's always there helping us with sign-in. Ivan Hack, Lois Irene Bloomberg, there's Ivan. He's also the candidate screening chair, so candidates, one word of advice, be real nice to Lois Irene. Because she has more influence than I do. On behalf of the CBR, I would also like to just say a few words to you. And it's this. As the 2026 election cycle begins, please remember that at the end of the day, we are all neighbors, fellow citizens, and hopefully friends. At our meetings, all we ask is that you have whatever spirited comments one may want to make, as long as, and this is not a debate, when we have debates, we certainly allow them, but we ask that we just treat each other like we would guests in our own homes. And that applies if we have Republicans here, Independents, Democrats, whoever. Just as importantly, in this election cycle, please do not be bothered or distracted by some of the angry voices that we hear coming from various quarters, including from some of our fellow Republicans. Our job as volunteers is to help deliver a message that wins the hearts and minds of our fellow countrymen. And in that way, to help elect the kind of candidates that you're going to see here this evening. I firmly believe that when good men and women come together, amazing, wonderful things happen. We just saw that happening with the U.S. Olympic hockey team. We're going to see more of that, I believe. Our job, again, as volunteers, is to help make more of those things happen. And my comments to you would be, don't let anyone, whether they're pundits, media people, consultants, etc., tell you otherwise. Because I'm telling you, those of us who've been here a long time have lived to see good things happen, and they will happen again. So, that's my 2 cents. Let's do this thing. And when Lisa gets here, we will introduce her. So I have an agenda that was approved by the chairman, and it's pretty tight. When Lisa gets here, she will, I think, introduce some of the candidates, judicial candidates, state central committee people here who do not have opponents. We are going to start with the Ohio House District 19. Eric Geyer is here. Where's Eric? You want to come up and give us your 3-minute elevator speech? Eric is unopposed, but he's from Brexville, by the way, and he's a CDR member, so we're happy to have him.
So I'm a little bit different type of person running. I'm a pharmacist by trade, so somebody who knows healthcare very intimately. Unlike people on the other side who think they know healthcare, but then just want to throw money at it, and that's not how you fix things. That only drives up our tax bills. And that's really an area that I'm focused on, driving down what I like to call the legal fraud that some of the middlemen pull on us. And I can say that some good friends of mine have been very involved with even some of the things that the president said in his speech last night about driving down those healthcare costs. I really want to force transparency in the healthcare field, and especially when it comes to small businesses, so they can compete on a level playing field. Because we all know small businesses are the backbone of our economy, and I can tell you that over 80%, probably over 90% of where pharmaceutical spend goes, all goes out of state to pharmacy benefit managers that just rake us over the coals and have forced hundreds of closures in our state. There's no more Rite-Aids anymore. That's 300 stores alone just in Ohio. And a lot of that is because of the shady practices that are currently going on in healthcare, and I want to help shore that up so we can promote small businesses in Ohio. I think that is how we level set the playing field and get back control of our economy. And I think, honestly, what the president said last night, completely agree with it when it came to healthcare. I actually think it didn't go far enough. We can do more in the state to even drive it down further for everybody. And I'm saying that on the side of the bench that actually gets paid, so you know that it's got to be true. With that, I also want to focus on things like helping drive down energy costs in the state, and really just the pocketbook issues, to get money back in people's pockets so that they can keep it in Ohio and keep it spending it where it's going to have the most impact. And heck, even drive down taxes. I know property taxes are a hot button issue. I've been asked by every person in the room that I talked to about that one. And I really do think we need to work on capping that eventually what somebody originally paid for all the way Florida has done in the past, so that we're not just creeping with spend. There's nothing like getting taxed on unrealized gains. With that, though, that's really all I have for right now. I'm definitely be in the back of the room. I think everybody got my card or a little magnet with my name on it. Very easy to remember. Eric Geyer from Ohio.com. You can go there. You can find anything you want on me. You can ask questions. You can email me. Or you can also donate if you would like to. Because in this district, for Ohio House District 19, it does lean slightly Democratic, and I'm the only Republican on the ticket. So any support, volunteers would go a long way in helping us win this seat back and drive some right direction in the state. Thank you, Ron.
Thank you. We are going to move right on to our Supreme Court candidates. And the first candidate I'm going to...
Those are your guests.
Oh, I think Lisa wants to introduce them. Okay. I have the guest list, but the chairman will introduce them when she arrives. We're going to start with Judge Jill Lanzinger. I just saw the judge earlier, if she can make her way up front here. She is currently, I believe, the Ohio 9th District Court of Appeals judge. Is that correct, Your Honor? Okay. Would you like this in the, or would you rather hold it? However you're comfortable.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for inviting me here tonight. I see a lot of people I've seen all over, and you're very active in the Republican Party, and we appreciate your leadership. I'm Judge Jill Lanzinger. I'm running for the Ohio Supreme Court. I am your only candidate. I'm the only candidate running for the Supreme Court who lives and works in Northeast Ohio. So I'm your Northeast Ohio representative that's running for the Ohio Supreme Court. So I hope you think about that you want someone from Northeast Ohio, from Northern Ohio on the Ohio Supreme Court. I'm at the 9th District Court of Appeals. That's Lorain County, Medina County, Wayne County, and Summit County. So I'm close by. My colleagues and friends in Northeast Ohio call me Judge Jill. That might be easier to remember than Judge Lanzinger. Judge Jill, I'm the only Jill on the bench, so if you like me tonight and you want to vote for your Northeast Ohio judge, remember Judge Jill when you go to vote in May. I am the judge with the most Ohio judge experience in this race. I've been an Ohio judge for over 10 years, and additionally, I'm the only candidate that served at every level of the judiciary. I've served over 5 years at the municipal court, over 2 years at the Summit County Common Police Court, and now over 3 years at the Court of Appeals. So I have a track record of being a judge and running as a Republican. I'm a lifelong Republican. I've been involved in the Summit County Republican Party for over 20 years. I first ran for Akron City Council over 20 years ago. I've been a precinct committee person in Summit County, and I've run for judge multiple times as a Republican in Summit County. My husband and I are also heavily involved in the Summit County Party. My husband's on the finance committee, and we help other candidates. We put our money where our mouth is, our mouth where our money is, to help other candidates and help Republican causes. I'm personally pro-life. I'm personally... Judges must always follow the law, but I'm personally pro-life. I care about personal responsibility, accountability, your constitutional rights, especially your First and Second Amendment rights. I was a trial attorney for over 10 years. I'm originally not from Northeast Ohio. I grew up in Seneca County. That's Northwest Ohio, rural Northwest Ohio. So I'm still, no matter what, from the north here, and your northern representative. I met my husband in Seneca County when we were young. I was 19 and he was, I don't remember how old he was, but we got married young, and we both came to Northeast Ohio because we both wanted to go to professional school here. My husband went to medical school, and I went to law school here in Northeast Ohio. He went to Neomed, and now he's a Cleveland Clinic hand surgeon. So he works here too. We stayed here because he had a residency at Cleveland Clinic, and now he works at Cleveland Clinic, Akron General mostly. Worked as a surgeon, and he does carpal tunnel and wrist fractures. And usually when I come to these events, someone says, "Hey, your husband did my surgery." So he should run for office. But anyway, I want to let you know that I am a judge with a track record as a Republican, as a person who cares about accountability. I'm also the judge with the most experience for this job. It's a big job and it requires experience. And I have experience as a trial judge and also an appellate judge. And I'm from Northeast Ohio, so I hope to earn your vote. I know I only have a short time this May. And remember Judge Jill. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Judge. Okay. Next, I'm sorry, I didn't see this. Is Judge Lewis here? Ah, there he is in the back of the room. Judge Ron Lewis, Ohio's 2nd District Court of Appeals, if I'm correct, Your Honor? Yes. Yes, thank you. We can take this out or leave it in however you want.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for inviting me. What a beautiful building, what a great turnout. My name is Ron Lewis, and I'm running for the Ohio Supreme Court. I am currently a judge on the 2nd District Court of Appeals. That's the Dayton area. So I have 6 counties in southwest Ohio. I've been an attorney since 1993. I met my wife in law school. She was my peer advisor. We have 4 kids together. My wife is currently the juvenile court judge in Greene County. I started out after law school in private practice. I was in private practice for about 5 years. After private practice, I became prosecutor for 19 years. And for 15 of those years, I was also a law director. So I have both civil and criminal experience. I then went to a trial court bench, and I've been on the Court of Appeals since 2022. I am what's called an originalist and a textualist for you conservatives in the audience. What that means is I believe that a judge's responsibility is to look at a law and interpret it at the way it was written and what the original intent of that law at the time it was written. Not how society may have changed over a certain period of time where people will go back and try to change the law to bend to current standards. I believe that you look at the law as originally written, you look at the language as what it meant when it was originally written, and a judge has no right to change it otherwise. You don't want a judge that's going to bend the law for you today because they might bend it against you tomorrow. That's the legislator's job to change the law, not a judge's. Why is that important? It is important because the same reason that the Supreme Court is important. The Supreme Court is important to all of you here, whether you realize it or not. Most people don't have any involvement in the court system, and that's a good thing. But the Supreme Court is important because, and having a judge as originalist is important because it brings stability to the court. Stability and predictability. So when businesses come to relocate to the state of Ohio, one of the things they look at is the legal community. One of the things they want to have is predictability. You don't have to be pro this or con that, just follow the law. Sounds simple, but Justice Bruner, who I'm running against, certainly does not follow that mantra. She's willing to bend the law whenever it's convenient to follow her political beliefs. I can give you a perfect example.
I'm so sorry, Judge.
Yeah.
I was just asked to ask you to hold the mic up because they're clearly not working properly.
Sure.
We apologize, but people.
Can everybody hear me in the back now? Thank you.
Thank you.
So I had a case that I ruled on a few years ago. It dealt with an individual who was about early 40s who decided that they wanted to change the sex marker on their birth certificate. So they used the statute to try to change the birth certificate from male to female. That case, I wrote the opinion stating that was not what the statute was intended for, its intended use. It was appealed to the Ohio Supreme Court. The Ohio Supreme Court could not come up with what's called a clarity decision. The majority, they all agreed it wasn't properly used, but they agreed for different reasons. There was only one justice that dissented on that case, and that was Justice Bruner. And Justice Bruner felt like the court should be able to amend that statute and bend that statute to accommodate the changing norms of today's society. And that clearly is not what it was intended for. That was intended for when somebody reports somebody's sex marker, they make that change, or when they report on a birth certificate, if they say you're African American but you're really Asian, the doctor can go back and change it. It wasn't designed for somebody to go back 42 years later and change. I have been a lifelong Republican. I always say I was a Republican by birth, not by choice. My mom was our county chairwoman for about 25 years. She was on the state social committee for years, and it's just something I grew up with. I think I first started working on my first campaign in 1976, which makes me about 22 years old. But I managed local campaigns, state campaigns, congressional campaigns. I worked on 3 statewide campaigns. I know how hard it is to win this seat. I know how hard it is to run this race. I know how hard it is to raise the money necessary to win this race. I have a very professional campaign team in place to help me do that. We have been crisscrossing the state since last January. I think that we've laid the groundwork necessary to make that happen. I would certainly appreciate your support in the fall. Not the fall. I appreciate support in the fall, but I really would appreciate support in May to get to the fall. Get the cart before the horse there. But I am very fortunate. I live on the family farm I grew up on. I still farm. My parents lived about 400 yards from where my house is, so there was a path beaten down for my kids to go back and forth. Very, very lucky that they grew up that way and that I grew up that way. My dad ran a contracting business, 3rd generation. So I always like to say, for the first 10 years I was a lawyer, I probably spent more time in a ditch or a field than I had behind a desk in my lifetime. And that's important because I know the meaning of hard work. And I have translated that throughout my entire career, whether it was in private practice, whether it was as a prosecutor, a law director, a trial court judge, or at the Court of Appeals. I really would appreciate your considering me this May. I thank you all for having me here tonight, and y'all take care.
Thank you so much. You know how you hate it when you're at a meeting or you're at a restaurant and these young kids are always just looking at their phones and they're texting and stuff? Well, that's me looking at my phone, but I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I'm communicating with some of these folks who are zooming in. So I am told that Judge King is waiting to speak. See, if that's not ready, we can go on to the next in-person speaker.
Give us 1 second here.
Oh, I see him on screen. Can we hear him?
Ready for me, or
Can Okay, can everyone hear Judge King? Yes, get an echo. Get an echo. I will shut off this mic, but Judge King, the floor is yours. Thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you very much. I'm sorry I couldn't be there in person. I usually be up here.
I'm lost. See how that goes. Believe it or not, we've done this dozens of times and it's always worked, but they have a new system here in the community center. What if...
What's that?
Judge, can you hear me? What if we made it... How about if you call my cell phone and I hold the mic up? We've done that before. Let's see if that would work any better. We'll give it a try.
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry about that, folks. New technology.
Luke, can you put the lights back on?
Yes.
Let's try this. I'm holding my mic right by the phone. Let's see if we can hear. You can be in the front row. I'll kind of walk back.
Yes, if you
I don't know if
want.
that makes any difference, but go right ahead.
Put it on speaker.
Yeah, I'm holding it. Go ahead. Go ahead again.
That's all right. That's all right. Well,
Is that better?
Yep.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Judge. Yes, sir.
So I apologize for the technical difficulty. If I could have been there in person, I would have. I was hosting an event this evening, so hopefully I'll have a chance to be in person. So again, this is Andrew King. I'm a Court of Appeals judge. I know you just heard from Judge Lewis, who's also a Court of Appeals judge. So I'm running for the Ohio Supreme Court, and as you probably already know, there's 2 seats up next year. One is David Hawkins, who is running for re-election, Justice Hawkins, and the other one is the Democrat-held seat by Jennifer Berger. And so obviously the main goal here is, by all the candidates, is we want to replace the Democrat on the court with a good Republican judge. But more than that, and the reason that I'm running is I think that we need to make sure that we have a strong constitutional conservative on the court. And that's what I ran for as the Court of Appeals. When I ran, I said, hey, I can beat an incumbent Democrat with a good last name, and that's exactly what I did. And since being on the Court of Appeals, I've continued to be that constitutional conservative. I've been an originalist and textualist. I'm going to follow the law, always, without fail, no legislating from the bench here. So that's what you got, my voters in the 5th District, which is 15 counties, got from me. And that's what you would get from me on the Ohio Supreme Court. Beyond being a sitting Court of Appeals judge, which, again, I know 3 of us are, is I'm a former prosecutor. And as a former prosecutor, I've tried cases to a jury verdict. I've worked with the sheriff. I've worked with law enforcement. I've sat across the table from victims. I know what that's like. I know what it's like for law enforcement. I know what it's like for the victim. And, that's something that I take with me on the bench and always understand that when I'm picking up those kind of cases. So that's part of my experience that you definitely you do get with me. And I think that it would also be the 4th prosecutor on the Supreme Court. Justice Hawkins, Justice Peters, and Justice Shanahan are all former prosecutors. And, I think that helps round out being a good justice. Beyond that, I spent all of last year, actually started almost right after the 24 election in December, campaigning for this. There was no RP meeting in January. I was the first and only candidate to show up and express my intention to run. I've been unwavering in this. I hit all 88 counties last year. I think it's paid off. So, as I've traveled the state this year, I've been very fortunate for last year and this year. I've been very fortunate to earn support across the state from state senators, state reps, trustees, local government folks, and then several county parties, including counties like Claremont, Butler, Licking County, recently Lake County, and then some other counties like Washington, Monroe, and Brown. And that's because I spent the time building the grassroots and getting to know the folks in the county. So, I believe judges got to be present in their counties and their districts, and I continue to do that on the Court of Appeals. I've done that as a candidate, and I'll continue to do that as an Ohio Supreme Court Justice. And just to kind of wrap it up, because I'm sure it's super exciting to listen to a disembodied voice on a microphone.
That's why you've been in good company, Judge. United States senators and governors have done that too here, so don't feel bad. Go right ahead.
I know it's super exciting, but so I this year will be my 30th wedding anniversary. So I've been happily married for 30 years, have 2 adult children, and I've also been active in my community, doing everything from serving on the BZA to being part of the Elm. So I believe very firmly in public service. Both my parents actually met as deputy sheriffs in training, so I continued that as a prosecutor and judge. So I appreciate the opportunity to address you tonight, and again I apologize I could not be there in person, but I appreciate you making a special dispensation to allow me to talk to you. So again, Andrew King, and I'm running for the House Supreme Court. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Okay. So, and again, these Supreme Court races are so important to our state. Please pay close attention and help these candidates however you can. So we have one more Supreme Court candidate here in person, and it's Judge Colleen O'Donnell. There she is. And my understanding, Judge, correct me if I get this wrong, former Franklin County Common Pleas and U.S. Immigration Judge. Okay, we're honored to have you with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you for that very kind introduction. It is a pleasure to join you here tonight. As I, ladies and gentlemen, would like to introduce myself. I'm Colleen O'Donnell, another candidate running to serve on the Supreme Court of Ohio. As I have traveled the state for more than a year now, visiting all 88 counties, it's always a special pleasure when I'm able to come back to Cuyahoga County and see so many familiar faces. This is where I was born and raised. I'm a proud graduate of Magnificat High School, as well as a graduate of Case Western Reserve University School of Law. I have a lot of family still living here in Cuyahoga County, including my father, retired Justice Terrence O'Donnell, whom I know many of you in this room have helped support and elect through 38 years of judicial service to the state of Ohio, between serving on the trial court, the 8th District Court of Appeals, and then serving on the Supreme Court as well for 16 years before he had to retire due to Ohio's mandatory age limits for judges. So it is a pleasure to see familiar faces and be back home where I was born and raised. I myself have more than 10 years of judicial experience between serving on the Franklin County's Common Pleas Court, where I tried well over 100 cases to verdict and put hundreds of felons behind bars. I also previously served as a federal immigration judge out on the open, porous southern border, 1,500 miles away in Laredo, Texas. Certainly I had the experience and the training, and I honored my oath and obligation to interpret that immigration law with impartiality and with integrity. And as a result of my service on the border, I never granted asylum a single time. I have recently been honored with endorsements that really speak to my conservative values. I've been honored to be endorsed by Ohio Value voters. We are lucky to have John and Diane Stover here in the room with us, and I know many of you share these same feelings about the importance of protecting faith, family, and the sanctity of every human life. I've also recently been endorsed by Senator Tom Patton, by Congressman Max Miller, by the Cleveland Police Patrolmen's Association, and by everyone's favorite retired mayor, Jerry Ruby. Yes, that's worth applause, certainly. I think these endorsements speak to my pro-life, pro-Second Amendment, conservative values to the core. It's important for us to note in this race, though, that while we need to elect a conservative Republican, we need to elect someone who can beat the Democrat. So I have the judicial experience, the judicial temperament, the fundraising prowess, and a fire in the belly to win this primary in May and to beat the Democrat in November. Thank you. My team and I have studied the numbers. We've studied the numbers. We know Justice Brunner will be a formidable opponent, and we know that the Democrats will be activated to get out and support Sherrod Brown, who's going to challenge our Senator John Husted, and Justice Jennifer Brunner. So we've looked at the maps and we've looked at the numbers. Electability is key. With my name ID throughout the state of Ohio, building on what's here in Cuyahoga County, with the dozens of races my father ran and won, as well as the name ID I've taken down and expanded out of Franklin County, where just back in 2022, I outperformed then U.S. Senate candidate J.D. Vance by 12 points. So our campaign is going to slice into the Democrats' base here in Cuyahoga County and in Franklin County, and we're going to do our best to do the same thing in Hamilton County. Mathematically, folks, that will mean Justice Jennifer Brunner cannot win in November. Thank you. I would be honored to add your names to the list of folks endorsing and supporting my candidacy to bring a constitutionally conservative voice to the Supreme Court for the next generation. Thank you, folks.
Okay. And now it is my privilege to introduce Chair Lisa Stickett.
Oh, yeah, great. Well, who watched the State of the Union last night? Okay. And would you agree the state of our union is strong?
Yeah.
So I know, first of all, it's an honor to have you guys join us here at this candidate forum, and I want to thank all the candidates for coming. We're very excited to hear from you. This year, our county party at our last Central and Executive Committee meeting decided to forego endorsements in the primary election. It passed overwhelmingly because I'm getting a sense that people really just want to hear from the candidates and they want to make their own choices and they want to get information. So this is definitely a first year for us because we typically do endorse, but part of that was that we would hold this forum. And I know our Cuyahoga Valley Republicans, let's give them a round of applause. For taking lead as our MC. And I just knew this would be a good location for the county to do it, but a great group as well, because I know there's a lot of interest here in these races. And, I'm glad we're able to hear from the Supreme Court candidates, because those are also important races. And I think sometimes people look top a ticket, and they don't realize it's the whole slate, including the local slate. So it's my honor to introduce some of our elected officials and candidates. I'll go through that first. Let's see here. Melanie Mason. You heard from Colleen O'Donnell, who is judge from Franklin and who is running for Ohio Supreme Court. You also heard from Judge Jill Lanzinger, who is on the Court of Appeals. We have a state Senate candidate, and that's District 23, Rob Dinneman. Rob? You will be hearing from her, but we have state senator and candidate for treasurer, Christina Roedner. We have current treasurer, candidate for Secretary of State, Robert Sprague. Helping to run our live stream, we have State Central candidate and current incumbent, Joe Miller. District 21. All right, we have, let's see here. Oh, we have someone from, I believe, Lake County, the county recorder, Becky Lynch. We love our Lake County friends and family, so we appreciate you guys coming to visit with us. Also from Lake County, School Board member Denise Verde. And I do have some, when I call you, I'd like you to come up, and I'm going to give a little bit more of a speech here. Judge Antonio Nicholson, please come up here. Judge Tim Clary, please come up here. Morgan Caruso, please come up here as well. I do a little more introduction as they're walking up. Our Deputy Director at the Cuyahoga County Board of Elections, Tony Gallagher. Where is he? And I'm glad I pointed Tony out because one thing, and you guys don't mind me doing this very important plug, election integrity is important to all of us, correct? Yes. Election integrity starts with us. We need Republican poll workers. We need Republicans to come to the polls, to work the polls, to make sure everything runs smoothly. By law, we need a Republican and a Democrat. I know sometimes it's a sacrifice for people to go and do that for a very long day, but it's very wonderful and meaningful work, and people who do it love it. Right, Tony? We hear good reviews. If you're interested, please see Tony after the meeting, and you're going to be hearing from me beating on this drum. We need poll workers, so thank you for that. But now on to Cuyahoga County judicial candidates. This is a statewide forum, but I asked for a special moment here for our Cuyahoga County candidates, and I'm just going to briefly point them out to you and talk a little about the races. In the urban counties, and I know you heard from some other candidates, like I believe Judge O'Donnell is coming out of Franklin, and I think Judge Hawkins was too. These are tough races in the urban counties. It's hard to recruit candidates, but these are really some of the best lawyers in town, folks, because they have to be. They have to be the best, they have to run a good campaign, and they really are out there to give the voters a good choice. I hear all the time people concerned about safety, what's happening at the courts, people getting appropriate sentence, cashless bonds, people out on the streets, keeping the public safe. That's a major concern for all of us. It starts at the courthouse by putting good judges. We cannot do name game. We have to beat that Democrat slate card. It's been, decades of people just handing cards out at the polls. People either don't vote or they just vote for names. That has to stop. You guys can help with that. You're going to hear these three names. Please mix and mingle with them. I'm sure they're going to be coming back to this group to speak through the year too. Help them where you can help them. And that's in your personal networks, friends, and family. But I do want to point out we'll start here in the end, recently appointed to the Court of Appeals, Judge Tim Clary. And Tim is running for Common Pleas Court seat. The appointment came down a little late, and he had already been circulating petitions in this race, but it's against a very important, it's an important seat because it's against a judge, quite frankly, who I don't think has been keeping the community very safe with some of his recent decisions. And I think, please talk to Tim about that. We also have appointed Judge Antonio Nicholson up for re-election. So these two gentlemen, they ran last time as well. And they are really excited to be here, and they're great candidates. And also, we have Morgan Caruso, first time running, but a lot of others, especially first time candidate as well. Please take her under wing. This group is one of the best groups in the county. These Cuyahoga County Republicans were a tough bunch, as you know, and so we love to hit the pavement and spread the good word. So we're very happy to help these three candidates. I don't want to go over time too much, but did you guys want to just say one second? I'll give you 1 minute each. All right.
Thank you very much. I only have 1 minute. My name is Timothy Clary. I am your newest Court of Appeals judge. On a personal note, my 11-year-old daughter did ask me if I was speaking tonight, and I said absolutely not, so she didn't come with me. A couple years she was here, and she was running up and down. There are only 3 Republican judges on the entire bench, including the Court of Appeals, Common Pleas, etc., Judge Nicholson, myself, and one other. So it's something to consider. There's only 3 of us out of over 40. There hasn't been a contested primary, probably Republican primary, in hundreds of years at this point. So I will speak to you all individually if you have questions later, but thank you very much. Again, my name is Timothy Clary. I'll be on your ballot in November and in this May as well.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Antonio Nicholson, and I'm one of your 34 Court of Common Pleas judges in the General Division. I'm one of your Common Pleas judges because I'm qualified B1. I got over 11 years of direct trial experience. I've tried everything from minor misdemeanor traffic cases to felonies of the first and second degree, on and off the bench. I'm one of the hardest working judges on that bench. I'm in the courthouse at 7 o'clock in the morning, between 7 and 7:30. And I just left probably around 5:36 to get here because I'm in trial right now, I'm a jury out. So a little bit about me. I graduated from Solon High School. I was third in the state in wrestling. I wrestled for Cleveland State University as well. On both teams, I was a leader. I got my first start from Judge Larry Jones. He was a mentor, and he was the reason why I got hired at the Public Defender's Office in Cuyahoga County. I was also a public defender in Lake County. Ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Stickett did not lie. This is going to be a tough race. Okay, a very tough race in the county, in the Blue County. But we can do it. We got great candidates running. Okay, we got experienced candidates running, experienced lawyers running. But we need your help. We need your support. Because the Democrats, all they have to do is pay some money and get on the slate card. And they send all the slate cards to the mailboxes and people vote up and down. So I want all of you to be our slate card. Give us the support that we need, because I do believe each and every one of us can win this election. Each and every one of us has been working hard. I've seen Morgan working hard. I've seen Judge Tim Cleary working hard. So please, if you can, please give us the support that we need. And I'm honored to be a Republican on that bench. Just like Judge Cleary said, it's only a few of us. And we got to keep these seats. We worked hard for these appointments. So let's keep them. Thank you so much. I'm Antonio Nicholson, and I'm honored to be one of your 34
Thank you, and I'll make my minute quick. I am Morgan Caruso. I think Lisa hit the nail on the head. I'm running for the Court of Common Pleas because I believe in safety and fairness in our communities. I'm a mom of 3. I truly care about what happens in our courtrooms. I've been a defense attorney and prosecutor for part of the time for more than 13 years. I practice in these courtrooms each and every day. These guys are exactly right. We need good judges. I care about upholding the law, the rule of law, the integrity of our courtrooms, fairness, and I care about keeping our communities safe. I'm grateful for the support in this room. I've been making my way around this county. All the GOP groups, I have asked humbly for the endorsement of the Cuyahoga Valley group, and I would be so grateful to have that support. I am running in an uncontested race, but I do believe in earning every vote. I know that after May to November is going to be tough, and I am up for it. I am ready, and I look forward to serving this community in every capacity. Please get my name out there, vote for Caruso, support these great judges. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you to the county party and Cuyahoga Valley. Thank you. I look forward to earning your support.
All right, now if we didn't announce any elected official or candidate, please see Dom or myself in between, because we will make sure we cover everyone. We just went off the sign-in sheet. Dom, I think it's back to you for the next round of candidate speaking. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we are going to move on to the next races, which are very, very important races. Starting with the Secretary of State race. By the way, Colonel Strivich, Marcel Strivich, is with us, and he'll be the first speaker. He didn't know to sign in, so that's why he wasn't announced, but he's standing there in the back. And former Ohio Rep. Jay Edwards, who will be speaking shortly for the Treasurer's race, is with us too. But we're going to go ahead and start that discussion, and it's my pleasure to introduce retired Lieutenant Colonel Marcel Strivich, U.S. Air Force, running for Ohio Secretary of State.
My MO is to never speak behind a podium until you elect me. Thank you. This is a wonderful club. You have a deep history, and I'm here with many friends and many supporters. My name is Marcel Strivich. I did not anticipate running for elected office, but sometimes when your country calls you to serve and there are serious systemic issues, sometimes it takes a political outsider and a problem solver. I served 20 years in the Air Force. I got my beginnings fighting the war on terror. I eliminated terrorist targets across 4 different continents: in Iraq, Afghanistan, the Horn of Africa. These experiences, some would say, you don't have government experience. Oh, I've got a lot of government experience at the Pentagon. And the type of organizational leadership experience that took me to work for the vice chairman, the #2 military official. That's not bad for a first-generation American kid who grew up in Chicago. Wasn't a lot of Republicans that I could vote for in Chicago, so I longed to get to Ohio. When I got to Ohio, I married my wife. She's from Delaware in Mahoning County. She's my rock. She kept me solid and straight. And of course, in 2020, I fought for military service members so they wouldn't be thrown out because of the COVID mandate and the DEI. I did that at the expense of my career. I didn't get to rise to the rank of colonel because I stood for something. How nice would it be if we start electing Republican statewide that are not afraid to offend each other or are willing to say the right thing? We have a merry-go-round system. I experienced it on Friday. I came with best intentions to present my case. I explained to the Republican Party why it's important to have an outsider to make people enthusiastic. Because in 2026, we have a deficit, folks. That's why I went across 50 different counties. That's why I have hundreds of volunteers. You see them in this room. These are the people that are going to win us the 2026 election. So say what you want about me living in Ohio for only 3 years. I'm active duty. I didn't serve myself in Columbus for 15 years and have nothing to show for it. I went around and I gave everything that I possibly could for this country. And that's what it's going to take for us to restore greatness, to restore President Trump's agenda. Let me tell you what I'll do for you on election day. If you elect me, we're going to go to a same-day in-person voting system. We're going to keep... We're going to keep mail-in ballots for valid reasons if you have a justified excuse. So if you're elderly, if you're not in the precinct, you'll still have 28 days to do that. We're not going to restrict that. We're going to finally stop third-party voter registration groups that are defrauding Cuyahoga, that have defrauded Hamilton. There was never a reason to allow these groups in the first place to handle ballots and to handle votes. We're going to end drop boxes. This ranked choice voting bill. Ranked choice voting is wrong. Some have tried to distort my position. Here's the problem with the bill that just is about passed today. It's going to create a backdoor. So when the Democrats sue, the judges are going to remove that safeguard. And as a result, we're going to end up having it in a few years when they say the Secretary of State doesn't have the authority to deprogram funding because we are a home rule state. Folks, I have studied the election laws, the policies, and the procedures like it's my business the last 3 years. I didn't run for governor. I haven't auditioned for lieutenant governor. I came out ready to take this job on and deploy to Columbus for 4 years. That's why we're winning by 8 points in this race. That's why we have equal name ID, even though I've been out there for 10 months. It's why 4,600 people trusted me with their small dollars to give me the fuel that I need to compete. And let me tell you, I spend my money efficiently. I didn't spend $1 million in 6 months. I spent 1/10 of that, and I got 12 points. I'm going to win this race, no matter who says I can or we can't, because it's going to be the people that decide ultimately, and I will work the hardest for you. We will beat Allison Russo, because as you can see from my personality, I don't take any flack. I go out there and I say it the way it is. That's what our president does. That's why I'm carrying the president's agenda. We need a seasoned, outgoing person to tackle that, and they won't have anything on that. I also did not take money from people like Les Wexner. I didn't do any of those things. I've taken it from people who are working hard, everyday people. That's something the Democrats can't hold against me. So think about that when we get ready to take this election on, guys. We are going to lift up this ticket from the Secretary of State. Election day, remember this, election day, not election season. We're going to get back to vote-earning campaigns and not ballot-gathering activities. I am Marcel Sturbridge. It would be my honor if this very iconic club gave me the endorsement. If not, I will still come back and I will work very hard for you regardless. I thank you all for this opportunity to serve you yet again after 20 years of service. God bless you all.
Thank you, Lieutenant Colonel. Okay. We also have, in the same race as our next speaker, Treasurer Rob Sprague. And Rob is making his way up the mic. Treasurer's Price.
Thank you, Don. Appreciate it. Thank you very much, Don. It's great to be here with all of you. I got to tell you, I am from Ohio. I grew up in a little town of Findlay, Ohio, in northwest Ohio. We have 5 children. My wife, Amanda, and I live there now today. We took our 4th boy back to my alma mater on Sunday. And so he's doing college visits. You know, anybody else doing college visits is my age with gray hair. So Tate went back. I took him back to Duke and got reminded of all those things. And you know, I've worked at Goldman Sachs on Wall Street. I worked for Ernst & Young internationally. I worked in Singapore, worked in Hong Kong. My job was to install accounting systems at some of the largest companies in the world. And I started a business. I'm an entrepreneur. Sold my business to my business partner. Went back and got my MBA at the University of North Carolina. And there's a lot of other things I could have done with my career and with my life. But I wanted to come back to my hometown of Findlay, Ohio, to serve my community, have my kids grow up with some Ohio values, know their grandparents, and I wanted to try to make a contribution because Findlay has been on this long, slow decline like a lot of Ohio has. And I've got a lot of problem-solving experience. As a matter of fact, I can remember when the partner from Ernst & Young came on campus, and I'm in the job interview, and he offers me a job. And I said, look, I don't know why you want me. I'm an engineer. I'm studying to be a mechanical engineer. He said, look, Robert, Duke has been teaching you how to solve complex engineering problems. I just want you to come, and I want you to work for me. I want you to solve complex business problems. And I said, well, that would be great, but I don't know anything about business. He said, that's okay. I'm going to teach you. And so that's what I've learned. I've learned how to implement accounting systems. I've learned how to fight fraud. And I want to bring that background to the Secretary of State's office to fight voter fraud for you as your next Secretary of State. And listen, I'm the only candidate in this race that's from the state of Ohio. I'm the only candidate in this race that has won a political race in the state of Ohio. I'm the only candidate in this race who has not pulled the Democrat ballot twice. And I'm not just one at the local level. I won at the local level and I've served there. I served my community. Then I went to the district level. I served as state representative where I have a 100% pro-life voting record. Unassailable conservative values. Reduced 7 income tax brackets to 3. Closed an $8 billion budget deficit as chairman of the Medicaid committee. I've got a lot of experience in government and solving problems for our state. And I'm going to solve problems in the Secretary of State's office. I'm the only candidate in this race on the Republican side that can win in November. I'm a proven leader. I'm a capable person. And I won statewide not just once, but twice. And in 2018, I was the top vote getter. I led the Republican ticket in 2018. November is going to be tough, ladies and gentlemen. Let me tell you about who my Democrat opponent is going to be. It's going to be Allison Russo. She's the minority leader in the House. She's going to be funded by George Soros, the 314 Action Fund, and all these far-left liberal dark money groups. The election is going to be low turnout because it was the same way in 2018. And you know where these elections go through? They go through Brecksville. They go through the suburbs of Columbus. And you have to be able to talk to independents. And you have to be able to win them over in this election. I'm the only candidate in this race that can do that. Here's my goal for the elections in the state of Ohio. When I'm Secretary of State, I want to run the most secure elections in the history of the state of Ohio. I want our state to be a beacon for other states, to be that bright, shining city on the hill that other states look to and say, look at the voter security that they put in place, and they didn't disenfranchise a single American voter. Here's the plan, ladies and gentlemen. It's very simple. It's common sense. It's not pie in the sky, but it's going to require leadership. Leadership, not just within the Secretary of State's office, but also with the members of the General Assembly and the governor's office. First, we move to upfront citizenship checks so that only American citizens can vote in our Ohio elections. That's number one. We'll create an internal audit team to make sure that we go through the existing registrations and we remove people who are here illegally, non-citizens, people that have moved away, people that have passed away. Believe me, I used to implement systems for a living and I know exactly how to do this. We've already done it. So that's the second thing. The third thing is we got to move to all paper ballots in every election. Why? Because when you have a separate printed piece of paper, it creates an immutable audit trail. And I know how to audit things, ladies and gentlemen. But we'll go back and count the paper and make sure that the machines are telling us the truth. We still have 11 counties in Ohio that have those machines that record the paper inside the machine that Michigan won't even use those machines. We got to change it out. And the final piece, I don't know if anybody see the State of the Union address last night and caught what Donald Trump was talking about with the Save America Act. We must pass the Save America Act because it would require photo ID. We already have photo ID in Ohio, except for the fact that we have 1 million ballots that are cast by mail. And you know the only security feature on those ballots is your signature. Come on. Everybody's got my signature nowadays. We have to go back to in-person voting, ladies and gentlemen. Let's declare Election Day a national holiday and return to in-person voting where everybody in the state of Ohio has to show your photo ID.
Yes.
And we can reserve those mail-in ballots that are fraud-prone for the people with valid excuses. Marcel and I agree on that.
We do. Well, what is paper?
So, let me just finish up. So let me talk a little bit. I got to talk about why this is so important, the Save America Act, and why the Secretary of State's office is so important. Okay, because if Allison Rousseau, you know who the last 2 Democrat Secretaries of State were? Who are the last 2 Democrat Secretaries of State? Jennifer Brunner and Sherrod Brown. This is the beachhead that the Democrats want and need, not just to run our elections for the next 30 years, but to win elections in Ohio in the next 30 years. And ladies and gentlemen, I will not let it happen. So again, my name is Robert Sprague. I would appreciate your support, your endorsement for Ohio Secretary of State. I will not let you down. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Treasurer Sprague. We're actually a little bit ahead of schedule, so let me make these announcements. Chair Sticken just handed me a list of a few more names, people who are with us this evening. I would just ask them to stand. George Peters, State Central Committee, 24th District. These are all candidates, by the way. Billy, I'm not sure I'm saying the name correctly. Say it again? Fronemer, I'm sorry, Billy. Running for District 13 State Representative. Billy, thanks for joining us. Neil Patel, running for U.S. Congress, 13th District. And I see a couple of very important leaders, and dear friends are with us. Also, Lisa Woods from Medina. Sweetie, how are you? Keep Medina red. And Robert Kyle. Where's Robert? Where's our friend Robert? There he is. And Northeast Ohio. So, having said that, we're going to give something else a try before we move on to our next speakers. Senator Houston was going to be with us this evening via Zoom. He ended up having to address some other Senate duties, including presiding over the Senate. That was other meetings didn't make that possible. But he sent me earlier today a video message. If that doesn't work, we're going to just hold it up. I can do it from my phone.
Hello to all my Republican friends in Cuyahoga County. I'm sorry I can't be with you today for the candidate forum, but I wanted to reach out with a special request as we get into the swing of the election year. My race is going to be one of the toughest ones in the country. Control of the U.S. Senate may come down to Ohio. Sherrod Brown is Chuck Schumer's hand-picked candidate, and the coastal liberals and elites are pouring millions of dollars into Ohio to flip the Senate seat and give it to the Democrats and Sherrod Brown. We are up against a Democratic blue machine that will outraise us by tens of millions of dollars. I know that seems hard to believe, but it's true. Your support can make the difference for us. Ohio is trending Republican, but early polls show we are now in the lead, but Sherrod Brown is a tough one to take out. The 2024 race between my good friend Bernie Moreno and Sherrod Brown was the most expensive non-presidential race in the history of the United States. It cost over $500 million. I'm counting on you, each of you, at the grassroots level, to hold on to the Senate seat. I need your help, and so we can continue to deliver on an America First agenda. Make sure you sign up to help with my campaign at johnhustedforsenate.com. Thank you, and may God bless America.
Okay. I'm sorry, I was just texting with Secretary LaRose. We're trying to figure out how to do this.
Why don't you try to ask him to try to sign in again?
Yeah, I think I'm sorry, I was saying I was just answering a text from the Secretary. We're trying to see how we can make this work. But he's not due for 2 minutes anyway, so why don't we move on to another very important race, the Ohio Treasurer's race. We have both former Representative Jay Edwards with us this evening and Senator Roger, and I think former Representative Edwards is first at that.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So I got a question to start off. How was Trump last night at the State of the Union? So I got to admit something. I am on about 8 hours of sleep, but that's over the last 2 or 3 nights. I actually had the great honor of representing Ohio. Bernie Moreno actually invited me to attend the State of the Union last night. It was an opportunity of a lifetime, especially somebody that grew up in very humble beginnings in Appalachia, Ohio, to be able to attend that honor. To be able to attend, it was such an honor, and I can tell you, even though I take that very humbly and was very gracious, you guys actually got a better viewing performance than me. The camera wasn't all the time on Ilhan Omar and Rashid Tlaib. I had to watch them the entire night. It was terrible. I do want to send kudos to one of your Congress people here in Cuyahoga County, at least Chantel Brown, or whatever her name is. At least she didn't attend, so that was nice, so we didn't have to watch her all. Yes, but we expect more out of our preschoolers in our schools than what we expect out of the people and how they chose to act. But I thought it was so telling. It kind of helped Republicans in a lot of ways of seeing the way they acted and seeing what we're up against. But it's kind of scary to think of them taking back control of the House, of them potentially knocking off and taking control of the Senate. And you can imagine the impeachment of Trump that'll come right down the line with that. So we got to do everything we can to make sure we protect John Husted and protect our Congress people that are out there running right now. That being said, I come from Southeast Ohio, had small business, went to Ohio University on a football scholarship, got my degree in mathematics, ran for state rep in 2016, won that election, flipped the Democrat seat to a Republican, spent 8 years in the legislature, became the finance chair my last 2 years, biggest income tax cut in the state in the last 50 years, biggest expansion of school choice. Thank you very much. And, I was plagued in my time in the legislature of dealing with COVID. 4 or 5 years dealing with COVID. And this woman named Amy Acton. It drove me nuts by the fact, in fact, on the way up here today, leaving the airport, coming up here, it drove me nuts. I met with a family down in Mansfield that is vaccine injured. I mean, the kid is paralyzed. He's basically in a wheelchair now. He's now going through enough physical therapy. They didn't think he'd ever walk again. From the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, no liability. He has no recourse. Mom and Dad had to quit working to take care of him. We're 6 years post-COVID. We have a supermajority Republican in the House, a supermajority Republican in the Senate. I think it's about time we have medical freedom in the state of Ohio. Now, I promise I'm going to talk about the state treasurer's race in a minute. Who in this room, by show of hands, who owns a home here in this room? No, you don't. You're renting your home.
That's right.
You're renting your home from the government. If you don't pay your rent, find out what happens. They'll come take it from you. We're dealing with 2 or 3x property tax valuations. We're dealing with 2 or 3x utility bills. I turned out of the house at the end of last year. Why I decided to get in this race was I watched what happened with these property taxes. I watched what happened with utility bills. And what does our state do? And I know I'm standing in the heart of it. We gave $600 million for the Cleveland Browns to build a new football stadium, as opposed to doing anything on property taxes. 2 days after the budget passed, the owner of the Browns, who I've met and I'm friends with, I love football, buys a $36 million mansion in West Palm Beach. Are we really looking out for the people? Are we really looking out for Republicans? What does it mean to be a conservative these days? I am pro-life, I'm pro-God, I'm pro-common sense. I don't go out of my way to attack people, especially not Republicans. If you look at my Facebook, I attack Democrats a lot. I don't go out of my way to attack Republicans. But I also am not going to stand by and not call balls and strikes when I see problems going on, like medical choice, like giving hundreds of millions of dollars. $1.7 billion is actually what the state set aside for stadium funding in the state of Ohio. Now that we've set the precedent for the Brown Stadium, you can imagine they're all coming down the pike. We've got to start acting like conservatives in this state. As I said, I'm pro-life, pro-God, and pro-common sense. As your next state treasurer, we all know there are outside forces coming upon us that are trying to change our way of life, that are trying to mandate vaccines, that are trying to force you to wear a vax, that are trying to do transgenders. We finally got transgender youth banned in the state of Ohio. We got men out of women's sports. Absolutely. These are things that are very important, but these are things that we got to build upon. That's the bare minimum of what we should expect from Republicans in our country or in our state. These outside forces are the real deal. The Treasurer's Office, when you pay your taxes, when you pay your sales tax, when you pay your income tax, that money goes to the State Treasurer's Office. The State Treasurer's Office chooses how to invest that money. We have a lot of bad players in the investment world. We got the BlackRocks and the Vanguards and the State Streets that are forcing all these dark pressures. They tend to always be after Republicans. They don't do any problems with Democrats. They have no problem. They always seem to be left-leaning organizations. All the banks in the state of Ohio fight to hold your taxpayer dollars. And I'll give you an example. Bank of America holds tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars of your taxpayer money right now. Bank of America 3 years ago debanked the Trump organization. They debanked Turning Point USA. They debanked the National Rifle Association. They will proudly do business with Black Lives Matter and Planned Parenthood. Why should they hold a conservative state like Ohio? Why should we allow them to hold your taxpayer money? That ends on day one when I'm in office. No more of the status quo. No more of what's going on. I want to get rid of this ESG and woke nonsense once and for all with your taxpayer money. It's time we start acting like conservatives. Beyond that, I got a lot of ideas for the State Treasurer's Office, but I want to make one point very clear. When you're a state treasurer or you're anyone on the statewide ticket, 11.9 Ohioans are your constituents. Why is it that none of our current statewide candidates or none of our current statewides are not talking about these issues? Not one of them has issued a statement on stadium funding as opposed to property tax or utility reform. Not one statewide candidate has made a public comment about the Somali fraud that's going on in Columbus. It's just as bad as Minneapolis. Not one statewide Republican has talked about, even though our governor got on TV last Sunday to say that temporary protective status needs to be extended for the Haitians in Springfield. It's only been going on for 12 years. It's time we end that stuff. If you want somebody to be on the statewide ticket that's not afraid to speak up, again, it's not an attack. It's never about the individual. It's about the policy. But someone that'll stand up and educate and hold even Republicans' feet to the fire on making sure we're focused on the Trump coalition and what it brought us. Trump brought the blue-collar, middle-class, working folks, like the people in this room, into our party while still respecting business and making sure we're growing the economy. It is amazing what he's done. I've been endorsed by Bernie Moreno. I'm the first and only endorsement of Vice President J.D. Vance. I'm very proud of J.D. Vance's endorsement, our next president. If you want the status quo, I'm not your guy. If you're looking for a young, energetic guy to bring to the ticket from a geographic area in southeast Ohio that brings a lot of Republican votes with it, to take on a Cincinnati city councilman and to help the entire statewide ticket, I'm your guy. I call balls and strikes. I would love to get your endorsement. I want to give the State Central Committee credit for not endorsing in my race. It's not a pleasure to me. What you did was a favor to the Ohio Republican Party and making sure their voters get to choose their next person. So thank you very much. God bless. And I also want to say, Carol Lee Upshur just walked in. Where are you at? I want to give you prayers for her and her grandson, Sean. She is going through a tough time. We're praying for him. He's made a miracle comeback, and we've all been thinking and keeping Sean in our prayers. Thank you very much.
Now we're going to segue, and I apologize to Senator Rogan. We had Secretary LaRose already scheduled for 8:15. He's making a special effort to be with us. Most of you know Secretary LaRose. He is the only Secretary of State in the U.S. that was personally endorsed by Donald Trump. He's running for auditor now. If you don't think that race is as important as some of the others that Frank has been involved with, just think about what's happening with redistricting and battles in places like California and Virginia. And just think about what's going on with fraud matters that the former representative just referenced. So with that, Mr. Secretary, the floor is yours. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Dom, and thank you to my friends at CDR and Cuyahoga Republicans. It's just, I wish I had the chance to be with you all in person. I'm joining you from my kitchen. I was getting some work done down here in Columbus. I did want to take the time and just talk to you really quickly about the auditor's race. I think many of you may know that I'm not opposed in the Republican primary. I don't have a Republican opponent, but that doesn't mean that I stop campaigning, because I view this as a job interview. I'm asking for you all to hire me for this important job. I'm a Republican, you're Republicans, but I don't take it for granted that automatically means that I've earned your support. Now, you know that the track record that I've built up over my 8 years as the Secretary of State. We're proud of the work that we've done in Ohio. It's my team and I that are often called to the White House to work with President Trump and his team to help bring good ideas from Ohio to other states. That's why the work that we've been doing is in many ways included in the legislation you see going through Congress right now, the SAVE Act, the Save America Act. A lot of those we've worked with the President's team and with the team in Congress because they're really based on what Ohio already does, taking dead people off the voter rolls, taking non-citizens off the voter rolls or keeping them from ever getting on, making sure that we check IDs, just common sense stuff that we do here in Ohio, really a lot of other states should follow. So you know my track record, and as you heard Dom say, I was the only Secretary of State in America to be endorsed by President Trump when I ran for re-election in 2022. The only one in the country. I think we know he's got pretty high standards when it comes to election officials. I've taken on a new call to duty. I'm term limited as Secretary of State. The office I'm running for is one that, I get it, the average person may not pay enough attention to. So let me just give it to you really bluntly why we as Republicans should care about the Auditor's Office. Now, Don mentioned one of them. It's a seat on the Redistricting Commission. And we all know that the Democrats want to control the Redistricting Commission so they can gerrymander our state and get rid of our good conservative legislators at the state and at the federal level. My job as a member of that Redistricting Commission will be, as it's been the last few times we've met, and I've served on the Redistricting Commission, and that's to make sure that we follow the Constitution and that we don't give some kind of advantage to the liberals who want to take over our state. Now, that's probably 5% of the job. The other 95% of being state auditor comes down to two main missions. The first one, catching people that are committing public corruption and making sure they face justice. The second one is working to make government more efficient. Let me just touch on each of those briefly. I think we all know that there are bad people out there that want to exploit government programs, that want to use the system that exists to try to enrich themselves. Look at what has happened in Minnesota and in other places, including in some cases here in Ohio. As state auditor, it will be my job to catch people that are committing fraud and make sure that they find a new home in a jail cell. Keith Faber, our current state auditor, has done a good job of catching people. He's put over 150 people in jail for committing fraud with your tax dollars. I think I can even step that up a notch and make sure that we do a really good job of making sure that people face justice when they commit fraud. Now, the other part, and the part that I'm really most excited about, is that the auditor's office focuses every day on government efficiency. Now, we all know that government doesn't operate as efficiently as the private sector, far from it. And so I view the auditor's office as ODOGE, Ohio Department of Government Efficiency. And the power that the auditor's office has to come in and conduct a thing called a performance audit is something I want to use aggressively, specifically at the local government level, but at all levels of government. The fact is that when government entities run out of money, their first reaction is usually, we need more money, and we're going to go and ask you for more of yours. And that is one of the reasons why property taxes are so high. I think we all understand that property taxes are out of control, and our state legislature has been doing some things, including having to work around the governor in some cases to try to bring that back under control. But there's a lot more that needs to be done. And one of the things is to bring a DOGE mentality to local government. That's exactly what I plan to do as your state auditor. I've earned the endorsement of the Ohio Republican Party. I've earned the endorsement of over 400 of Ohio's leading conservative and Republican leaders around the state. I've raised close to $1 million, which is a record for the Office of State Auditor, and I'm not stopping with that. I'm going to continue doing the work and raising the money to make sure that we keep this office in Republican hands. Now, my opponent, my Democrat opponent, is somebody from your neck of the woods. She's the mayor of Maple Heights, and she's going to put up an aggressive campaign because the Democrats really want to win this one. With your help, we can win this, and so I'm asking for your support, and it would be the honor of my life to earn your endorsement. Happy to answer any questions if you guys have them.
I think they're satisfied, Mr. Secretary. I think they're all sitting there. Appreciate you making time for us.
All right. God bless everybody. Keep us in your prayers. See you soon.
Okay. So, our next speaker and our last speaker, this again is a very important race for, who has the mic? I said. Sorry about that. I shut it off so it wouldn't interfere with Zoom. So, our next speaker, this again is the Ohio Treasurer's race, a very important race. We have to keep control of these seats. Is State Senator Christina Rogner, 27th District.
Hey everybody, it's great to be home in Northeast Ohio. So I am State Senator Christina Rogner, and I'm running to be your next Treasurer of State. And as you consider who's going to be your next Treasurer of State, you should consider things like their educational background, what their professional background, what they've done, what they stand for, and who's supporting them, and their character. And of course their plans in the Treasurer's office. So let me start a little bit with my educational background. I am a mechanical engineer. And I also hold my MBA from the Wharton School of Business at the University of Pennsylvania in finance. So I am absolutely trained and ready for this role. In fact, those are the same credentials that our current Treasurer of State holds. And professionally, I worked as a mechanical engineer at Westinghouse Power Generation, overhauling turbines and generators. Then I worked at a McKinsey & Company in corporate finance, a lot of work in the banking sector. So again, a lot of work in the private sector, fully prepared for this role. I also was in elected office. I started on Hudson City Council, was elected twice to Hudson City Council on a platform of fiscal responsibility and transparency in government. Went from there, ran for the Ohio House of Representatives. We ousted a Democrat. I live in Summit County. It's just 25 minutes from here on the other side of the national park. And Akron is in our backyard. So there was a Democrat that held that seat. And by the grace of God, and I do give him the glory, we won that seat and we held on to it for 4 elections. And after I was term limited, it fell to a Democrat. We also then ran for the Ohio Senate. I won that twice. I've been in the Ohio Senate for 7 years. By the grace of God, again, I give him all the glory. We have never lost a race, and we have been in some doozies. So what have I done in the General Assembly? My opponent was up here saying, people shouldn't be afraid to talk about things, and that's true. But I don't just talk about things. I get things done. For example, in the pro-life area, I am the sponsor of Ohio's heartbeat bill. I sponsor the Ohio viability bill and everything in between all the way up to the heartbeat bill because I believe life begins at conception and we are knit together in a mother's womb and God knew us before we were born. When Amy Acton was shutting down the state, I sponsored Senate Bill 311. I didn't just talk about it, I did something about it. Senate Bill 311 it said, no, you cannot. Tell us the information. We're Americans. Let us make decisions for ourselves. But you cannot lock this whole state down. It was vetoed. We came back and we introduced Senate Bill 22. That went through both chambers. It was vetoed again. But we stood up to the governor and we overrode that veto. And that is when we started to see the state open up. And we got biological males out of girls' sports. And I didn't just talk about that. I chaired the committee, General Government Committee, that heard that bill and shepherded it through the Senate. In fact, I'll tell you what, that was one of the strangest committees I've ever seen. I had 250-pound men in field hockey skirts arguing why they thought they should play field hockey with our daughters. Like, no. We were very respectful. We listened to them all, but then we got that bill passed. And we overrode a veto on that as well. So we got that done. And with DEI, I didn't just talk about that either. Did something about it. So I chair higher education in the Senate, and we got Senate Bill 1 through our through the Senate, through the House, got DEI out of higher education. And by the way, that is not just a problem here in Ohio. I mean, that is a nationwide issue. My daughter was I'm tall, you probably gathered that, I'm 6 feet tall. She's even taller than I am, she's 6'2". And when she walked onto her college campus, she was in North Carolina, the rowing coach came up to her and said, hey, you're very tall, you'd be great at rowing crew, so come and try out for the team. And she did. Long story short, she made the team, she did very well, and then right at the end of that first year, somebody came up to my daughter and said, hey, where is June? And my daughter said, oh, she's on the bus. My daughter then calls me that next day, saying, Mom, I got an email from the Dean of Students, I'm being brought up on a sexual misconduct charge. And I said, why? She goes, I have no idea, Mom. So she talked to the Dean of Students. The Dean of Students said, do you know why you're being brought up on a sexual misconduct charge? She said, no. She said, because you said she is on the bus. And June likes to go by they, them pronouns. So, yeah, I know, right? That's what I was thinking. I'm like, look me at this dean, and Caitlin said, no, Mom, I've got this, let me talk to the dean. And I'm like, okay, can I at least listen in? She said, sure, Mom, but off camera. So I listened in, and my daughter went toe-to-toe with the dean of students at Duke University, and she, what she said, Dean, I believe God created us male and female in His image, and I am not going to go against my faith. And furthermore, you're asking me to use a plural pronoun for a singular person. That's just grammatically incorrect. So she took a lot. I tell you that because it is important for us not just to talk about these issues, but to stand up and do something about these issues. And by the way, I have to go back to my elections. I see Pastor Jeff Tarring here. So as I was in my last election in the Senate, we were an upside-down district. That means it's a Democrat district, and we were scrapping it out. And we were at the polls on election day, and my daughter, that same daughter, she was standing at one of the polls, and she was getting harassed by my Democratic opponent. And she calls me, Mom, they're harassing me. I'm like, what do I do? What do I do? I say a quick prayer. And it came to me, I called Pastor Torrey. So he pulls up on his Harley at the polling location and stood next to Caitlin. So thank you for that, Pastor Torrey. He is a brave pastor right there. So obviously I share your values. I'm also pro-Second Amendment and lifetime NRA member. We sponsor, we've got Stand Your Ground Pass, constitutional carry. We've been moving the needle on a lot of issues, including taxes. We got taxes from 7% down to 2.75, a flat tax. And it's because of you guys in this room. You are doing the work. You're getting people elected that are willing to stand up and fight these fights. Are we done? No, of course not. There is more to do. But if we look back over the last 10, 15 years, we have really done a great job in Ohio on a lot of issues, and I'm very, very proud of that. So as your next treasurer of state, as I mentioned, I'm very qualified, educationally, professionally, very qualified. Values, you should know from my track record in the legislature that I share your Republican values, and I will not just talk about it, but I'll get it done. But it's also important to consider character. I have been loyal and true to our values. I've never been censored by the Republican Party. But most importantly, I stand on my convictions in obedience to God. And I'm proud of my 100% rating from Turning Point, but the reason I bring that up is because of Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk was an amazing, amazing individual, a true hero in our time. One of his favorite Bible verses was one of mine as well, which is Isaiah 6:8. And that is, "And I heard the Lord ask, whom shall we send? Who will go for us? And I answered, here I am, Lord, send me." That is my prayer every day, that He will use me wherever I am. I ask for your endorsement in this race. I ask for your support, your trust, and for your prayers. God bless each and every one of you. Thank you for being here tonight. Thank you, Dom. Thank you, Chairwoman. And thank each and every one of you. God bless you.
Ms. Lisa, do you want to wrap up?
No one got left out, right?
I don't think, did anyone get left out? Okay.
All right, very good. I appreciate you guys. Let's give a round of applause to Dom and the Steve Cuyahoga Valley Republicans. Thank you so much. And it's important, we have great mayors in this county. I know Mayor Kingston's one of them, and we appreciate us being able to get here tonight with you as a group and also hear from these amazing candidates. But look, this is midterm election. I'm sure you all heard on the news. These are harder elections. We have to get out and get the Republicans to vote. There's nervousness about midterms. It starts with us. We are the campaign. We can carry the message. You heard amazing candidates here tonight. Running for judge, statewide office, local office. Remember their names, help them, seek them out, and we will have a red and victorious November. So now we're going to close the forum, and I believe we are also going to have some mix and mingle. So if the candidates are still here, please make sure you introduce yourself and have fun. Thank you for being here tonight. We appreciate you. Thank you very much. Let's win this November. Come on, guys.